What's going on, guys? In this video we're talking about some of the camera gear that I've used, that I currently use for this channel, for other channels that I contribute to, and we're just going to go through the list. I've seen a lot of YouTubers out doing kind of the same thing recently. It's an easy thing to do from sitting at your desk at your home, since we're all quarantined right now. So let's jump into talking about cameras. So some of the first videos I shot were actually with a Sony point and shoot camera. I don't remember the model. It's actually laying around the house somewhere here. It's basically a toy for my youngest kid, as it's not really usable anymore. The memory card was a specific memory card, one of those long, skinny memory cards that Sony used to do, and I don't have the charger for the proprietary battery either. So the Sony the Sony point and shoot camera it's around here somewhere. I used it to shoot some first YouTube videos that are on a personal channel still, but they did really well, and they kind of helped launch one of my channels, which is TXGARAGE, where I was filming cars and stuff like that. So I'm really happy with the work that I did with it to kind of kick me off and get me rolling, but quickly had to upgrade from that if I wanted to make decent content. And at the time I didn't know a ton about video and about cameras. I knew some. I knew more about editing than I did cameras, but so I was looking for a camcorder, a video-centric camcorder, something that was small and light that I could carry around with me, something that I can mount into a car to do video from inside the car. And I ended up with this. It's a Samsung camera. I liked it because it had that pistol grip. It was easy to mount in a car, but one thing that I was lacking at that time was decent audio. I didn't have an external microphone. I didn't invest in a good microphone, so a lot of my videos, while shot decently and hopefully edited decently, didn't have great audio, and that's one of the things that kind of kept me away from producing more, because I knew I didn't have great audio, and a lot of my videos were from outside, so I would be in the wind. It took me a while to really figure out and nail what I needed for good audio, and then having the money to spend on a decent microphone. While I had that Samsung, I also purchased my first action camera, which was called the Contour HD. So the GoPros were already out, but this was kind of a GoPro competitor for a while. I really liked it. I liked the form factor of it. It was long and skinny like a barrel, and it had a proprietary mount that you had to slide in, but you could mount it up. The image looked really well. It looked really good, and that was one of the probably the best little action cameras that I could have bought at the time, because I really loved it. And comparing it to what some of my friends had with some of the early GoPros, I was really happy with the video quality, the battery life, just overall stabilization and stuff like that. So I had that. I used it on a ton, almost all of my original videos. I had the mount that mounted to the car. I dropped it and ran over it. Broke the mount, but the camera survived. I bought a second one when they kind of upgraded them, used both of them for a while. I did some videos on a track, racing a car around the track with one of them pointed forward and one of them pointed backwards, and synced them in the edit, and had some cool running track shots that a lot harder to get nowadays, getting the right kind of mounts to all sync up. But because they were like more barreled in the way that they mounted on the side, it was actually pretty easy to mount them side by side. So kind of missed those. They were really great. I don't think the company might still be in business, but I haven't seen anything from them recently. But yeah, I had that with the Samsung, and then again, time to do some upgrading, getting a little bit more wanting some more video quality, more knowledge into cameras, and I bought a Canon T3i. And I bought this mainly at first for pictures, because I was kind of slowing down on video because audio quality mainly, but I wanted to get really good pictures, better than I could get with whatever old iPhone I had at the time. So I bought a Canon T3i, used it for pictures for a long time, and then figured, hey, why don't we give it a shot of getting some video with this thing. And again, learning more about the camera and everything really helped with getting some of those first videos up and running on that Canon. And they ended up pretty well. I'm pretty happy with those. But again, I was still using the onboard mic, which is not great. And my next step, I definitely got a good mic and have been using decent mics since. And that next step is the Canon M. Not M6, not M5, not M50, M, the original Canon M. It was a mirrorless, very small body. I actually quite liked it because of its size. I got a lot of comments about it at some events that I went to because of its size and portability, and it returned a really good image straight out of camera. You didn't get a whole lot of dynamic range. The autofocus was pretty decent, even though it wasn't the dual pixel autofocus from Canon. But yeah, for a 1080p camera for its time, it had a really good image, I thought. So I was pretty happy with that, doing some HD videos for YouTube, making a lot of content with it. I bought a cage for it. I bought an external monitor for it so that I could see myself, because it didn't have a flippy screen or anything like that. So there was a lot that was good about that camera, but again, I got to a point where I just needed to bump up the quality. It had an APS-C sensor, and it had a decent image, but I want to do a little bit more, have better lenses. It had the M mount lenses, and I didn't want to invest in those lenses, so I would buy the EF lenses and adapt them, and of course that made the whole thing out of balance with weight. Bigger lenses, smaller body. So I was looking around for another purchase and ended up getting the Canon SL2. Now you might be seeing a trend here, that once I got into the Canon systems, I really liked them and really stuck to them. Still like them today. But I got the SL2. It was one of the cheapest DSLRs you can get as a small body, which again I liked because you can mount it easier. And everything, and it had a lot of great features that I really liked. It had the APS-C sensor, but it was an upgraded sensor. We had the dual pixel autofocus on it, 1080 24 30 frames per second video. I don't think it did any slow motion. If it did, it was in a lower quality that I didn't even mess with. But yeah, we did I did a lot of stuff with that. A lot of my videos, a big chunk of my videos, were with that camera, and I still own it. It's basically my wife's camera, so I still own it, and I'll pull it out every once in a while because it's still great to use when we go do some things and need an extra camera. But when I was ready to give that one to my wife and really step up, I was in a full frame craze. Got to get a full frame camera, and the camera that I bought was the Canon 6D Mark II. This one has a lot of bad kind of press, bad reviews on it. A lot of people didn't like it for what it was, but I think it had a great image. It did really well for me. Loved having the EF lenses on there, getting that full frame look. You could get a much wider shot than you could with the crop sensor. So mounting it in a car and getting a wider shot was really essential for what I was doing. And yeah, I had the 6D tube. That was probably the shortest lived camera, even though it was one of my more expensive purchases. I had it for probably just over a year or so, and I rented a Canon EOS R, and I was going to use it for a week and check it out and see if it was something that I needed or I wanted. And I ended up not getting it, not liking it as much as I thought I would. Looking back, a lot of that was just not knowing the camera as well. A a lot of new features packed into that, and then just kind of being influenced by what other people were saying online about it and stuff like that. And I ended up buying another camera. This one was the Blackmagic Micro Cinema camera. That's actually the camera that I'm shooting this video with. It's a small, like tennis ball sized camera. It's got a small micro 4/3 sensor, micro 4/3 lenses. I really wanted it to play around with some raw video footage and see how that went, how I liked it, get more into it. It's a cinema camera, so you're getting more of a cinema codec. It's got 13 stops of dynamic range. Lots of great things to say about the micro cinema camera. I still use it to this day. Some of the latest videos that I shot still have shots from this. Downsides to it, it's not 4K, so I have to size it up for the timelines that I do here, because all my videos now are 4K. It doesn't have a screen, so you have to adapt a monitor to it if you're wanting to see what you have. It doesn't have autofocus or anything like that, so you're manually focusing all the time, which is great for doing certain things and not great for doing others. But again, something like this where I can set the focus, I can just turn it on and start rambling, have my little monitor here so that I can see what the camera sees and what you guys see behind me, have my mic hooked up to it, everything about it I like. The micro 4/3 sensor though, being so cropped, I have a 12mm lens on this. It's a 2x crop, so that might as well be a 24mm lens, and even for in-car things, that is a really tight lens to do. So I bought this other one. This one is an Olympus lens 9mm fisheye. This actually is really cool on that camera. The only downside of this is that it's a constant aperture of f/22, which outside, not a big deal. If I'm using the micro cinema camera as like an action camera, it works really well. Sitting it inside of a car usually works pretty well, but if it gets dark at all, this thing is not going to pick up a lot of light. But it's a really small lens, really pancake, and it gets some really cool images that I wouldn't be able to get with a micro 4/3 otherwise. So this was a cool purchase for me that I enjoyed. So again, the micro cinema camera I still use and enjoy it, but there was a time where I was just, the 6D still, I liked it, but wanted something more. Really like the mirrorless systems more than having the mirror that has to flip up out of the way. It makes the body bigger and everything. And I just wanted something that's focused a little bit more on video instead of photo. And I ended up buying the EOS R. And the EOS R is what I have today. That's what I use day to day for all of my videos. Basically every single video that I shoot for all of my channels mostly is that EOS R. And I love it to death. Let me pull it out real quick. So this is the EOS R. I have an EFS lens adapted to it, which is another really cool thing about the EOS R. I do have the RF lens. This is the 24-100 L series lens that came that I got with it as a kit. I like this lens. It's great. But this is a 10-18 EFS lens. When you strap an EFS lens onto here, it automatically crops in, which kind of sucks, but at least you can do it, and it gives you that 10, which converted with their crop is about a 16mm, so you really get a good wide angle view, but you also get 4K is cropped in this camera, but with this lens it's already cropped, so you don't have to worry about it cropping extra in 4K. You got the stabilization in this camera. It's electronic stabilization, but that still works well for me. I really like it. I can do handheld stuff with it. I can do walking around vlogging with it. It's got the flip out screen. It's got really great codecs, 300 megabit per second transfer speed, 10-bit I believe. It just does a lot of really great stuff. It's a smaller kind of lighter body than the 6D, so I can mount it if I need to into a car and really go from there. Really happy with the EOS R, and this adapter is the adapter with the variable ND filter built into it, so that really helps a lot with that for shooting outside. Just a great camera. Other than that, I've had stuff like the GoPros as well. I have a GoPro Hero 7 now. I have the GoPro Hero Session that got run over by somebody else while I was filming with it. I have the Insta360 Go action camera that you can strap onto you or hold. Has really great stabilization, really wide angle view. I do a lot of social media posts with that, which ends up being really cool. Yeah, so that's basically the lineup of cameras that I have. I just bought some studio lights that I have in my garage, kind of a makeshift studio in there for photography for my son, and some video stuff for me as well. But that's kind of the rundown of where I'm at now, what I'm working with, and kind of my progression throughout. And again, I've been in Canon since I got a big professional camera. Probably stick with Canon for the most part, but I'm not opposed to other things. I really would like to play with the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, even the 4K. But I would like to have that EFS mount over the Micro Four Thirds mount. I know you can get adapters and all that, but I would really like to play with the 6K. But I'm not going to spend the money on it now. I've got a camera that works for me just fine for what I'm doing, and don't really need to upgrade. So I know Canon's coming out with some new stuff, the R5, the R6, both really interesting to me. Again, I probably won't upgrade unless I really see the need or really have to, really set and happy with what I have. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video talking about my gear, progression of my gear, and everything for running 4 different YouTube channels. So again, hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up if you did. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about my lineup of cameras and what I'm using now, other things that you might want to see. And thanks for watching, guys.